Okay, hello everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thank you for joining. If you are returning, thank you for returning. I really appreciate every single one of you. And as always, the readings will speak for themselves. You'll get used to my style or lack thereof because I don't really have a style. It's kind of just whatever I feel guided to do. And we'll go from there. Without further ado, let me start off with a prayer. It's pretty much the only thing that is consistent at the start of my readings. And then from there, who knows what we're going to get. So, quick prayer before we begin. Okay. I was being guided to this deck, but now I'm feeling this one. So we're going to switch it up. We're going to switch it up for this collective. It's interesting because normally I get some sort of idea of what this collective is, and I'm not really being given much about this collective, which in and of itself might be indicative of the collective. You know, this sense of not fitting, not having a label association with this collective, not fitting into a box. Interesting. I know sometimes when I shuffle, you guys can't see the cards, but I'm getting a lot like that. There we go. Thank you. Okay, right after I point it out. That might be significant as well. Some of you might need to point out certain things before you start seeing changes happen, before you start seeing the action occur, right? Okay, so we've got the Green Man and Moss Agate, New Spirit Guides, Tree Wisdom. We've got Jade, Pink Lotus. We've got Septaria Nodules. We've got Crazy Lace Agate, Sunflower, and we've got Mushroom Magic. Wow. Okay. This collective is going through a massive transformation. You guys have... I'm hearing that some of you fired your spirit guides. I'm hearing that some of you in this collective, you fired your spirit guides. This collective is not a new collective. This collective is not beginners. So if you're a beginner, if you're someone who's not in the spiritual space and you haven't been in the spiritual space and you're not familiar with it, this is not a reading for you. Right out the gate is what I'm getting here. This is a collective that is advanced, far more advanced than I think even they believe they are. And this collective at some point fired their spirit guides. So this I'm hearing is within like the past 3 to 6 months for most of this collective. You fired your spirit guides. You were like, enough is enough. I'm cutting you off. You're all fired, except for maybe one guide. I'm hearing some of you might have kept one guide on board. But you guys felt like your spirit team had been failing you. You felt like you couldn't trust them anymore. There was broken connections. And what I'm hearing is, with this card showing up, is that there's a new team coming through. There's a new team that's starting to come up. And this has been coming through because you've been going through this time of kind of trying to repurpose yourself, trying to figure out what it is you want to do. You've been in a bit of a limbo here, which might also be why at the start of this reading, I wasn't really given any information about this collective. I wasn't really told anything about who you were as people or as a practice. I think part of that is because you've been working on figuring that out yourselves. You know, you fired your spirit team and then you were left with, okay, what does this mean for the work that I have done up to this point? What does this mean for what I've been trying to do? What does this mean for what I've been working on up until this point? What does this mean? There's been a lot of reflection for some of you. There's been a lot of shadow work, a lot of psychological work. Some of you have even gone to therapy, but there's been a lot of upgrades, right? We've got the Septaria Nodules, right? There's been a lot of upgrades going on. There's been a lot of transformation going on a spiritual level, on a, I want to say, psychological level. You've opened your eyes. This collective has opened their eyes to a lot of corruption. They've opened their eyes to truth, I'm hearing, and reality, actual reality, right? They're showing me this card, and they're showing me before this collective, perhaps about a year ago. I'm hearing a year. Yeah, they're showing me in months. So they're showing me 12 to 24 months, which would be 1 to 2 years ago. This collective had this more idyllic look. Like everything is sunshine and rainbows. You know, you might have had a bit of a toxic positivity problem with this collective, okay? And it was like very quickly the ball dropped for this collective. And I'm not going to say it was one event. I feel like for many of you, it might have been a series of events that you witnessed occurring, but it was like the ball dropped. All of a sudden, that was it. You know, and you realized that your guides weren't properly your guides. You realized that things were not actually the way that you had claimed they were. As you know, some of you were spiritual teachers and you had to almost shut down that practice, you know, because you realized that what you had been teaching wasn't actually the way things were, because you were seeing things through this lens. Okay, I'm hearing like rose-colored glasses. You were watching everything through rose-colored glasses. Okay, you got mushrooms here. Some of you might have actually done some sort of journey. You know, I'm hearing like ayahuasca. Okay, you might have started microdosing for some of you. By the way, I'm not promoting any of those, just in case anyone's getting ideas or the YouTube gods get ideas. I'm not promoting that. But some of you might have done some sort of perceived mushroom healing, or worked with mushroom medicine of some sort. And that also then ripped open this portal in your consciousness, in your spirituality, right? It ripped open this portal, it ripped open this new passage, you know, in your consciousness. You start realizing a lot of things that previously you were like, you didn't really realize. Previously you weren't open to. There's an opening, there's a cracking open that's here. Right, they're showing me, if you guys have ever seen agate, the stone agate, it's these beautiful colors when you see them in slivers, but before that, it looks like a boulder, right? It looks literally like an agate boulder, and they take like basically a hammer of sorts, I guess, and like a chisel, and they basically put it in and they have to crack it, and the agate splits open. That's what they're showing me happened here, right? Especially with this card here, is they're showing me that there was like this splitting open that occurred of, wait, all this time I thought spirituality meant this XYZ, and I thought spirituality, there was definitely this idyllic version of spirituality you guys had. This collective had this version of spirituality that was based around love, light, and peace. You know, everything is hunky-dory. You know, everything happens for a reason. It's all for your highest and greatest good. You know, you didn't really have, you know, there's no such thing as, you know, demons. There's no negativity. Everything is of the light. There was definitely not a balanced approach, right? Again, hearing toxic positivity, there is definitely this toxic positivity feeling, and you've been cracked open, right? You've been forced into situations where you've needed to see things through a different lens. You've been forced into situations where you were challenged. You were challenged not by your guides, which was the problem, which is why some of you fired them. You weren't challenged by your guides, and that was part of the problem. You were challenged by people in your life. And the irony is, a lot of you were challenged by people in your life that weren't spiritual. You were challenged by people in your life that weren't part of this group, but you felt like you were failed by the spiritual and new age community because you weren't challenged by them, because no one did come to you and said, listen, what you're saying is not true. It's not correct. And it's not the way things are. It's, you know, it's just an echo chamber. Right? No one was calling out the fact that this was an echo chamber. No one was calling out the fact that this was not, this wasn't for you. No one was calling that out. And it was people who you deem not spiritual. And I think that's also why a lot of you are confused, is because it was people who were not spiritual who were challenging you. And it made you think, okay, well, if these people who aren't spiritual and aren't part of this community are challenging me, then what is it that I am? Like, where am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be going? right? We start out with surrender here, right? There's definitely this sense of like needing to just let go of things, let go of what was going on, and go, yeah, explore, go on and explore. I was just about to say go on a personal journey, but personal exploration works as well, right? For some of you, this is like a physical place. For some of you, you just decided to get back out in nature, to reconnect, to physically go and challenge yourself, to get away from the new age spiritual constructs and to physically challenge yourself, to see to see where it is you needed to go, to see what it was you needed to do. Some of you were on a bit of a power trip. Some of you were on a bit of a power trip. Some of you are in the process of manifesting a brand new life. This collective, y'all have your ancestors stepping behind you. They're showing me like a row of ancestors here. And a lot of you have reconnected to your roots. You got lost. You lost your way, right? You lost your ancestry. You lost, this might be in terms of religion and spiritual beliefs. I'm hearing like a lot of you have like gone back to your childhood spiritual backgrounds or religions. For some of you, this was about reconnecting to, like, for example, your Indigenous heritage or to just your heritage in general, and learning more about that. But your ancestors have stepped behind you, and there was a lot of healing here with the sage here. A lot of breaking down the swords. This card sometimes reminds me of the Two of Swords here. And in this situation, it's reminded me of the Two of Swords, where you guys finally, this collective lowered the swords and took off the blindfold and stood up and actually looked around, right? The Two of Swords card in the traditional Rider-Waite Tarot, it's a woman who is kneeling on the ground and she's got the swords crossed in front of her and she's blindfolded. And there's nothing stopping her. She's not bound. She can drop the swords, take off the blindfold, and stand up anytime she wants. But it's her own illusions that stop her. And this is facing their fears, right? This collective really had to face a lot of fears. You had to face a lot of uncomfortable truths. It was shoved in your face. This collective really had to face a lot of uncomfortable truths, a lot of uncomfortable realities that they didn't want to previously face. This card's giving me like Ace of Wands vibes here, right? Needing to, stepping into your power, stepping into this new chapter, new beginnings, finding new passions. It might stay within the spiritual realm for some of you. For some of you, for those of you that it's not staying in the spiritual realm, you're not watching this. So it's staying in the spiritual realm for those of you that are watching this. But you're working on manifesting a new thing. You're changing how you do things. You're taking this noble attitude. Okay? There's no like, I'm done with this prissy, new age, fluffy bunny kind of crap. And welcome to reality. And you could be spiritual and you can have a good spiritual foundation. But hey, enough of the horse shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, enough is enough. There's no bull going on here with this collective anymore. They've gone on beyond that. You've really opened your eyes. Okay, I don't know how well you can see it, but you've got the eyes here within the pine cone, right? You've really elevated your higher chakras, and you've actually elevated them. You haven't just said, I'm elevating them, right? Some of you thought you knew. Some of you thought you knew what it was like to, for example, connect to your higher chakras. Some of you thought you knew what it meant to actually open your third eye. Now you're realizing that back then, 2 years ago, you had no clue what that meant. You had no clue. Even a year ago, the most of you had no clue what that meant. Now you're realizing, actually, I had no effing clue what I was on about. I jumped into this way too soon. I was parroting what other people were saying for no good reason. And that was that. And that was that. Yeah, King of Swords energy. Stepping into a new chapter, new power. You're moving through it. Okay, if you've been looking for a sign of like stepping into the next phase, then this is it. Right? You're there. I'm hearing the next 3 months is going to be really, really crucial for this collective. Okay, what do you want to do? What do you want to manifest in the next 3 months? Where do you want to go? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want your work to look like? What do you want your spiritual practice to look like? Now is the time. This collective is tying up loose ends, right? You're tying up the loose ends. You're tying the bow on the final package, you know, but you've done the work. You've done the majority of the work. And if you're watching this and you're like, well, I haven't done the work, or I'm still in the work, you're going to be in the next 3 months, you're going to be closing that work up and tying the bow. It's coming. It's coming. I almost want to say the end is near, but it's never really the end. But I'm hearing like the end is near. The end of this chapter is near, and you're going to be moving forward, moving into the next chapter. You know, it's going to be real sunny where you're going. You know, hearing like sunshine and butterflies, but not in the traditional sense here. Right? You guys have realized the importance of maintaining a physicality to your practice, which is really important. It's something I harp on a lot, right? The importance of a physicality to your practice. Yeah, release. Let go of what's not serving you. Let go of the things that are not clear anymore. Letting go of all of the bull around you. Some of you are also letting go of people. Some of you are letting go of people that you thought were friends that you're realizing were not friends. Some of you are releasing old patterns. Karmic relationships is also coming through. Karmic patterns are being let go of and released. This collective is moving forward. Enough is enough. Right? Enough is enough. You're seeing the truth now. You're seeing things for as they are. Right? I'm going to leave that there. I'm told that this collective is going to want to come back at some point to this channel, and there's going to be an updated reading specifically for this collective. I'm not being told when, but I'm being told that there's supposed to be a second part to this collective's reading at some point. And that you'll know when you need to come, and you'll know which video it is. If you're part of this collective, you'll know where you need to go and what that is. And without further ado, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to wish you all a fantastic day or a fantastic week if I don't see you or hear from you again. And until next time, bye.